My Hero Academia Chapter 29 was by far one of the most insane, saddest moment in My Hero Academia. Twice Quirk has finally evolved, him realizing he is himself indeed, and not only that, I did not expect some backstory on his past. And it all makes sense why Twice is really connected with Toga and Goran, because he was always lonely, and this is why Twice is by my favorite character in the League of Villains. A lot of people like Dabi, people like Toga, but Twice, his character is so complex and so interesting at the same time. So for starters, let's talk about Skeptic and the Liberation Army. The data that they have collected on Twice using against him was his psychological weakness. Skeptic is using all these puppets that look just like Jin because we know what Jin has went through. He's very afraid of using his quirk to the full extent because we know what happened last time. They started killing each other because they are fighting for dominance, and at that point there was only one left, and Jin didn't even know if he was the real one, the one who started all these clones. So it was an interesting turn, a crazy turn, how Skeptic was using these puppets to break Toga's neck, because we know how Twice feels about Toga. You know, there's some hidden love there. I won't even say hidden, it's obvious. You know, he has some deep emotional attachment to her, more than anyone that's in the League of Villains. So Toga was the key for the Liberation Army to break down Jin's character, trying to make him fully submit. Now the real sad part about this manga chapter that we seen about Jin when he was 16 years old, talking about how he lives alone, he has no family. I believe he was telling his lawyer this because he got into an accident on his motorcycle and he crashed into a guy and broke his arms. And breaking arms was the deep metaphor of this chapter, because that's what he tells Goran when Goran finds him just sitting out by himself years later. He tells him that any doppelganger he makes will eventually disappear after taking a certain amount of damage, and for an adult male, it's by breaking his arms. So we get more clarity of why Jin is so afraid of using his quirk or actually getting into serious combat, because he feels as though he would disappear. You know, carrying that heavy burden, given the fact that his parents had died, so he was always alone, didn't have any friends until Goran had met him and he joined the League. So this manga chapter puts him in a position where he's afraid of going all out, and he's afraid of splitting because he doesn't want to disappear. He doesn't know who he is. So when he sees himself as puppets trying to kill Toga, he starts screaming out, "Who am I? That's me. I'm killing Toga." And it's really not, but that's how he sees himself. That is his psychological weakness. Jin's biggest fear is his own quirk, because he doesn't want to split and he doesn't want to disappear because he's also afraid of dying. He doesn't want a doppelganger that's not really himself take over his whole life. And what makes this chapter so sad is that it was fun when he made doppelgangers because he was alone, you know, having different versions of himself. They robbing banks, doing all types of crime. He was having fun. The fact that he wasn't alone anymore and had someone to speak to, even if it was himself, it was satisfying to him. But we know eventually in the end he was alone by killing his own self. So back to the metaphor of the broken arms, Twice sees that Toga is going to regain conscience, and her regaining conscience is what makes him go out of control, because he sees Toga is regaining conscience and he doesn't want Toga to see these false versions of himself kill Toga while she's awake, his best friend. So Skeptic tells the clones, well, the puppets, to break Twice's arms. And oh boy, the Liberation Army messed up right here, because Twice thought the whole time that he was going to disappear. He thought that this would be it. He would be finished if they break his arms, but that wasn't the case. He just started screaming out saying, "It hurts, it hurts." But he realized he did not disappear. So he has this epiphany, you know, this smile on his face, realizing that he is himself indeed. He always been himself. All the worrying and depression that he put himself through, he didn't have to deal with it anymore. You know, it's confirmed to him that he is the real Jin. You know, it's a crazy metaphor in this. You know, he gets into a car accident, he breaks a guy's arm, and he loses his job. Then he talks to Goran that if he breaks his arms, his doppelganger will disappear. Now he breaks his arms in this chapter by Skeptic, and he's still there. And then we see the evolution of Twice Quirk. And the odd thing is that he's not wearing his mask, and his clones look exactly like his costume where he has the mask on. So that is the prime example that Twice, Jin, his character has evolved into something else. and Toga was the key, so I cannot wait for the next chapter when Twice goes all out with his quirk. So this chapter, the writing in this chapter was so powerful, and I'm really loving this arc because it's dealing with villains. You know, the villains in My Hero Academia, they are written so well, they're so complex, and I love villains, especially as Twice, where they are villains for a reason. They're not just villains because they just want to do bad things for the sake of doing bad things. They had a messed up backstory, and this is why he is my favorite character in the League of Villains. You know, the backstory was necessary. This was a perfect showcase and the perfect evolvement for Twice's character. So I cannot wait for the next manga chapter. The Liberation Army has messed up. So comment below and tell me your thoughts, how you felt about this chapter. Just make sure to smash the like button for me if you enjoyed this review. I did a little different on this review. Usually I just have a screen up and I just talk over it, but I showed a few pictures and a few manga panels. So if you guys enjoy that style more, let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you're new for more My Hero Academia content. I'm J Cloud, and I'm out.